Ladies and gentlemen, I've got a new goal for us. It's a little bit lofty, I must admit, but can we get 30,000 subscribers by the NFL Draft? Okay, we are less than 2 months away. I am so excited for it, and we'll get you draft content, free agency content, trades content, anything you could want right here on the channel. So if you have not subscribed to us already, first off, what are you doing? Second off, super easy, hit that sub button. Join us on the road to 30,000. Mr. Helmet Hair himself dropped a brand new mock draft, and although he looks like a dad in a 70s sitcom, he gives us a lot of really great things to talk about here on the show. So we'll be diving into Mel Kiper's second mock draft. And if we look back at his first, if a little bit of a refresher, he actually had the Baltimore Ravens taking Siobhan Revel Jr., cornerback out of East Carolina, with the first round 27th overall pick. Before I reveal who he's got the Ravens taking in this draft, let's talk about the draft for a split second, because the Ravens have a buttload of picks, or a boatload of picks, you might say. They have 11 overall draft picks. A lot of that is because of the compensatory picks they were rewarded over this past offseason. But, man, going into a draft, having 11 picks and having a team that was just a game short, just a 2-point conversion short of making it to the AFC Championship, a lot of times you can look at those draft picks and say, you know what, these are assets. These are trade assets, and I hope Baltimore looks at them the same. Going into the draft, I've got 4 big needs. Really, I've got 2 massive needs and 2 subsequent needs under those. Edge and cornerback. That's my 1-2, okay? No doubts about it. No ifs, ands, or buts. Those positions need to be added to over the next few months before the 2025 NFL season. And if you do add to those positions, then you can go to get yourself some offensive line. Then you can go get yourself some wide receiver help. But in my opinion, edge, corner, 1, 2. Let's talk about who Mel Kiper Jr. had the Baltimore Ravens taking with the 27th overall pick. It is Nick Ammanwori, safety out of South Carolina. Go Cox? Maybe not. Grade this pick for me in the comment section down below. Give me an A, B, C, D, or F. I'm going to dive into it, give you my grade in just a second. Before I do, I want to hear yours. Of course, mine's coming right after this ad break. I'm giving this a B+, okay? And for many of the same reasons that I gave last week, or maybe 2 weeks ago's mock draft that had this team taking Malachi Starks, I gave that around an A- and a B+. It's because I just don't think that safety is nearly the top position of need for this team. Okay, I think in this first round, there's going to be plenty of cornerbacks available, plenty of edge rushers available to fill those needs, okay? And if you look at this cornerback room, Brandon Stevens, unrestricted free agent. Trey White, unrestricted free agent. Arthur Millette, probably about to get cut. Okay, so you're really going into 2025 with just 2 cornerbacks, and Nate Wiggins and Marlon Humphrey, that you feel confident in, okay? And then when you take a look at the front 5, the other top position that I think Baltimore should be looking at, you see a lot of good names, okay? Kyle Van Noy had a fantastic year. He's only getting older with every single day. Nnamdi Madubuike took a little bit of a step back. Odafe Owe had his best season of his career, but do any of those guys scream like they're going to game wreck the most important game of the season? Okay, and that's what this team was missing when it went into the playoffs. Okay, but let's talk a little bit about Nick, starting with what Mel Kiper Jr. had to say. He said his explosiveness is 6'3", 227 pounds, is special. But he's more than just traits, having hauled in 4 interceptions for South Carolina in 2024. If Baltimore is able to land him at number 27, put him next to Kyle Hamilton, and essentially take away the 3rd level of the field, that would be a good thing, considering the Ravens allowed 58 plays for 20 yards or more in 2024. And if you didn't know, that was 30th best in the National Football League, or as we like to say, it was 3rd worst. Okay, so not great, Jim. Nick Ammanwori, he's pretty high on Mel Kiper's big board, and so there's no real surprise that if a team like Baltimore, who has needs in the secondary, is right there at 27 with Nick Ammanwori, Mel Kiper thinks that he's going to be the guy to get the job done right behind Malachi Starks. And I do believe those are truly the only two safeties that are going to go in this first round. But still, that doesn't mean that I want them to go to Baltimore, okay? And if you look at what he was able to do in 2024, he was great, right? 88 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 4 picks. 2 of them he took all the way back to 6. And what I love seeing is the improvement from one year to the other, especially when it comes to, doing what safeties do, is intercepting the football. And I think that Nick Ammanwori has a ton of great traits, okay? And I think he's going to be great. His speed mixed with his size is stuff that you only see in motion pictures and superhero movies. Like, this guy looks like a real life Captain America. But I just don't think he's a fit for what Baltimore needs in their secondary, okay? Think he'd be great? I'd go elsewhere. And coming up, I'm going to tell you what I would have done at number 27, okay? If I'm Eric DeCosta in Mel Kiper Jr.'s make-believe mock draft 2.0 world, I'll let you know what I'd pick. But before that, I'll let you know what you should be picking, and that is our friends over at Factor. Factor is back on the Ravens rundown. I could not be more excited because you should be ready to optimize your nutrition this year. Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that make eating well so easy. They're dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes, so you can fuel right and feel great no matter what life throws at you. Factor arrives fresh and fully prepared, perfect for any active, busy lifestyle. The great thing is they've got 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu each week. It's easy to pick meals tailored to your goals. Choose from preferences like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto. And you know what? I've got a really good friend. His name is Ben, and he is an accountant, which also means he's a nerd. But it is tax season, and so he's working really, really long hours. So I told him, Ben, you should go check out our friends at Factor, right? He's not getting home till like 8:30. Then he's got to hop back online at 9:30. And so what he did is he ordered a box with Factor Podcast, got 50% off, and he's been absolutely loving it, all right? So you can eat smart with Factor, so you should get started at factormeals.com/Factor Podcast and use code Factor Podcast to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code Factor Podcast at factormeals.com/Factor Podcast to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. All of that information can be found in the comments and description of today's video. So to tell you what I would have done if I was in Eric DeCosta's shoes, I need to tell you what was done before Baltimore, okay? I'll go the 5 picks before. Tetairoa McMillan taken by the Los Angeles Chargers, A.Z. Thomas by the Packers, Gray Zabel by the Vikings, Kelvin Banks Jr., Josh Connolly Jr., back-to-back tackles taken by Houston and by Los Angeles. And honestly, if I'm sitting there and it's pick number 22, Los Angeles hasn't picked yet, and Tetairoa McMillan is still available, I would have talked about possibly trading up to number 22 to get that kind of a game-changing pass catcher, okay? We all know, I think there's 3 in this draft: Luther Burden, Travis Hunter, Tetairoa McMillan. And the great thing is, like I talked about off the top, you've got 11 draft picks, okay? Those are assets to use. Does this team, look me in the eyes and answer me this question, do you think this team needs 3 6th-round picks? Because I don't, okay? And so use those picks. Use your extra 4th rounders, your extra 5th rounders. You might need to trade up. Go get a star like Tet McMillan. And, okay, what? Now you only have 10 picks in this draft? Who cares? Okay? You are in win-now mode. You're not like a lot of these poverty franchises who these draft picks are so coveted because this is the future. No, you have your future, okay? So say they don't trade up to get Tet McMillan at 20 or at pick number 22. You got to think about the fact that James Pierce Jr. wasn't even selected in the first round of this mock draft, okay? And there might be a little bit of a reason why that is. So NFL Draft Files came out with this tweet last week, and it said James Pierce Jr.'s character concerns are allegedly causing his draft stock to plummet. A playoff team's director of player personnel said that he's in danger of getting dropped off our board and that there are a lot of character concerns. Before I talk about it, I want to hear what you guys have to say about it. Do you believe the character issues on James Pierce Jr.? Let me know in the comment section. Give me a simple yes or no. I'm going to be honest, guys, I call BS on this, okay? And it's not just because I'm an alum and because I really love the Volunteers and really like James Pierce Jr. I worked in University of Tennessee athletics for 4 years. I worked for the football team. The same year that James Pierce Jr. was on the football team, I had nothing but great interactions with him, okay? I've known a lot of people who have worked in the football team and continue to work at that football team who have had nothing but great interactions with him, okay? So I think that this might just be one of those classic cases of just one of those times, someone's like, okay, I'm going to start an internet rumor, okay? And sure, some people might think he might be a little brash, might be a little arrogant, but a lot of times that's what makes the great players the great ones, okay? And so I talk about how, and I talked about how unrealistic this seems to me, that at pick number 27, they go safety and James Pierce Jr. is on the board. And that's because I believe if he's there, they would pick him. But I'm not just saying that, and I'm not just saying that because it's what I believe. No, Eric DeCosta spoke at the NFL Combine on Tuesday, and he believes it as well.
I think if we're picking at, 27 and there's an edge rusher and he's the best guy, we're probably going to pick him. And it's going to hold through with every round. I think it's an important position. I think we were maybe second in the league in sacks last year, but having a continuous influx of young pass rush talent, guys that can set the edge and play the run, guys that play like Ravens, physical players who can get to the quarterback, I think that's a priority for us for sure.
So because of what DeCosta just said, and because of Pierce's combination of size, speed, athleticism, I just don't see any way that Baltimore's picking at 27. He hasn't been taken yet, and they just straight up pass on him. Okay, this guy is too talented. In my opinion, he might have the highest ceiling in the draft. Okay, I think a lot of people have higher floors. I think Abdul Carter, great example. He's got a higher floor, but I think James Pierce Jr., because of his physical traits, I think his ceiling might be a little bit higher. And Mel Kiper, he's not the highest on James Pierce Jr. So I don't want to say I'm necessarily surprised that Kiper didn't have him being taken in that first round. He has him as the fourth best outside linebacker target right behind Mike Green, Abdul Carter, right? Guys we've talked about on this channel. But I just think that he would be such an asset to this team. I think he would make such a difference for this team. And you remember, this is a team that in the most important game of the season, in the playoffs against Buffalo, came down with 1 sack, not a single quarterback hit, 6 quarterback pressures, and a quarterback pressure rate of 26.1%. Just over 1 in every 4 times that Josh Allen was dropping back in the pocket, Baltimore was putting pressure on him. That needs to change. James Pierce Jr. can change it, okay? We'll find out a lot about JPJ when he starts interviewing this week, but I wouldn't be too concerned with his interviews. I would not be too concerned with any of those character issues. And if I'm EDC at number 27, he's still there, I'm picking him, no doubt about it, okay? Pick one for me. Nick Ammanwori, James Pierce Jr., let me know. Comment section down below by giving me an N, an NE, or JPJ. Thanks so much for watching. This has been the Ravens Rundown. I am your host, Joey Petersen, bringing you daily Ravens content all offseason long. So if you haven't already, join us. Subscribe.